Welcome, Stache. This is another episode of Stache Sports. I hope that my barber Jake and his wife Allie are enjoying the new house and adjusting to the new house. And I hope that my other Stachers, EJ, Jake, and Kyle, my brother, have an easy move tomorrow and have a good move tomorrow, and everything goes well in their move to a new house, and they adjust to the new house as well. I hope my other Stachers are having a good week and have a good weekend this week. Tonight at 7:30 p.m. after the horse race, which we'll get into later in the video, the Boston Celtics are in the winner-take-all Game 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers. Who would have figured that the Boston Celtics had a 3-1 lead, but then blew it, and now we're tied 3-3. I know it's a winner-take-all, and it's a little nervous because now it can go any way. But the Boston Celtics look good. They need to look good like they did in Game 1 when they had the biggest point spread in team history, biggest point win in team history, and playoff history. They need to look good. They need to have a strong game. Hopefully Jason Tatum plays tonight because Jason Tatum got hurt the last game, but I think it's a calf tightness, so hopefully it's not too bad. He can play tonight. Or if not, the rest of the Celtics can step up and win so we can go play the New York Knicks in the next round. But it's a winner-take-all, so it's going to be nervous. I mean, the Philadelphia 76ers are looking really good right now, but the Celtics need to start making their shots. That was one thing they missed a lot in the last game. They kept missing their shots in the last game. I don't know what was wrong with the Boston Celtics and why they kept missing their shots, but that's something the Boston Celtics need to do. They need to make sure they can make their shots tonight and not go on a cold streak, because if they go on a cold streak tonight, it might not be good, and they might not win. But they need to do good in front of their home crowd. I mean, they are the number 2 seed in the East. But last night, like the Magic, no leads are safe, so it doesn't matter if they go by a big lead. They need to keep their foot on the gas and not blow it if they go by a big lead tonight. But it just depends. They don't need to live and die by the freeze. Derek White needs to have a big night tonight. Derek White has been off. Derek White has not been good the last few nights against the Boston Celtics. Derek White has not been good for the Boston Celtics the last few games. I mean, I know he did a little better the last game for the Boston Celtics, but Derek White needs to look a lot better tonight. We need Peyton Pritchard to have a good night too for the Boston Celtics. So hopefully they could beat the 76ers, the much-hated team in Philadelphia. But we need to also have a good defense. Our defense has been what they've been raving about a lot this year. So the Boston Celtics need to have a good defense, and they need their defense to show up well. They need their defense to be strong and be one of the top defenses tonight. And they need to block Tyrese Maxey and the rest of the Sixers, and they don't need old man Drummond to have a good night. They need to have a good defense tonight and have a good game plan. Joe Mazzulla needs to coach them well and have good coaching adjustments if they go down and be able to adjust on the fly tonight and be able to do good tonight for the Boston Celtics to win. It's a winner-take-all Game 7. I know that's what the NBA wanted. They wanted more games so they can get more money. But the Celtics need to look good tonight. Even if the refs are more in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers, they need to look good. We don't need Jaylen Brown to go in early foul trouble. That was what happened. That was kind of hurt them last game. Jaylen Brown went early foul trouble, so he had to sit on the bench during crucial parts of the game that could have helped the Celtics. But we'll see. We also need the bench to do good for the Boston Celtics tonight. The bench needs to show up tonight. We need Peyton Pritchard to do good. We need Sam Howell to do good. We need Queta to do good. We don't need Queta, or however you say his name. We don't need Queta to look bad. We don't need Queta to look bad. We need Queta to look good. We need Queta to show up strong for the Boston Celtics tonight. We need Queta to look good for the Boston Celtics, and we need Sam Howell to look good. We need Peyton Pritchard to look good, and we need some big men to look good too. That's something the Celtics need. They need some strong defensive players to look good and play well. We need some of these other players besides Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to have a good night. I mean, for the last few games, even though he has been off the other 2 games, Derek White needs to play better too. Derek White is one of our good players, and for some reason he's on a cold streak right now. I mean, I know he had a couple decent backups the last game, but Derek White needs to play a lot better tonight. Sam Hauser needs to play good too. Even Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard has been one of the key players in the other games, but the last few games Peyton Pritchard hasn't looked good. So hopefully Peyton Pritchard can look good tonight and look good for the Boston Celtics. So that's something the Boston Celtics are going to need. They need Peyton Pritchard to look good for them. Hopefully the Boston Celtics can do good tonight and Peyton Pritchard can do good. Or Jaylen Brown. Because if Jason Tatum can't play, that's going to be a big blow for the Boston Celtics. But I think they can get over it because they did pretty good this whole season without Jason Tatum since he had a torn Achilles and came back early from that. But luckily tonight, at calf tightness, I think he'll play. The doctors allowed him play and whatever. But we'll see. It says he didn't play the rest of game 6 and was out for that game, but didn't play that game and was out for the rest of the game 6. But if he come back tonight and look good for the Boston Celtics, that'd be great. Jaylen Brown also needs to do good. Jaylen Brown needs to have a good night. He needs to have one of the big nights he has. Jaylen Brown needs to look like the MVP player like he has in the regular season tonight to help the Boston Celtics win. He has the tools to have a big friggin' point night, and he needs to have one of his big nights so we can put to rest the Philadelphia 76ers. But it's going to be a rough game because the Sixers now think they have all the momentum since they came back from a 3-1 deficit and tied at 3-3. But we'll see. It's going to be an interesting time to see what happens tonight. But I think the Boston Celtics win. I mean, the Boston Celtics are looking really good right now. Aren't looking as good. But they need to look better. But they need to look a lot better. Hopefully the Boston Celtics can win tonight. Or they'll be done. And they'll be out like the Boston Bruins, which we'll get into later in the video. But hopefully the Boston Celtics can look good. I mean, they are the number 2 team in the East, and they look good without Jason Tatum. So they need Jaylen Brown to have one of his big masterpieces. They need Jaylen Brown to have one of his big nights tonight. Even though my friend Robbie thinks I'm not a real fan because he's a wannabe Stache. But the Boston Celtics need to have a big night. They need Peyton Pritchard to look good tonight. They need Peyton Pritchard to be playoff Peyton Pritchard tonight and look good. We need Jaylen Brown to have a big night. It'd be good if Jaylen Brown could have a big night and not get early foul trouble. That's what hurt him in the first game. Like I said, he had like 4 early fouls. Even though some of his fouls, I don't know if they were fouls because sometimes in the NBA, I don't get what they call, and sometimes they don't call travels. When sometimes the Philadelphia 76ers are taking so many steps, they didn't call all the travels for the Sixers. But I don't know what they call in NBA sometimes. But the the Celtics need to look good. And they need to look better tonight, and they need to have a big night. But that's the game at 7:30 on NBC and Peacock tonight. That's the only NBA game tonight, so we'll see. But we'll see. It's going to be after the horse races. We'll get in later in the video. But the Boston Celtics need to look good tonight. They're back at home in Boston, and the 30-11 at home. They need to be 31-11 home tonight and move on to the next round against the New York Knicks. But we'll see. I think the Boston Celtics will win tonight. I think they are the better team. I mean, they look like the better team. They just need to play like the better team. They need to get out this funk they've been in the last few games. They need to get out this bad funk they've been in the last few games and play like they have been the first few games. I mean, a couple of games they won by big point margins, but the last few games they haven't been looking like themselves. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they keep missing shots. That's one thing they did a lot. That's one thing that made me mad in Game 6 is they kept missing shots that they were making. I just don't get it sometimes how they can go one night and making all these shots and the next night look cold and shooting. I just don't get the NBA sometimes, but that's just me. But we'll see. The Boston Celtics need to look a lot better and need to help and need to be good. But I think the Boston Celtics win tonight. I think they beat the Sixers and put the Sixers out of the playoffs, which will be good because we all know the Philadelphia team stink in this world. But I think the Boston Celtics win. I think Jaylen Brown has a big night. I think he has a 30-point night tonight. I think Jason Tatum, if he plays, has a big night too. I think Peyton Pritchard has a big night. But I think our bench is one of the difference makers. That's what's good about the Celtics, is they have a good bench. I think the bench shows up tonight and be one of the big difference makers of the Boston Celtics tonight. And I think the Boston Celtics win. I'll be watching the Celtics game at 7:30 tonight, but I think they win. I hope they win by a big margin so we don't have to sweat it out at the end, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the refs do tonight, too, because sometimes, in my personal opinion, I think the refs might have been more on Philadelphia's side in Game 6. Some of those calls. Because some of those calls are a little tacky, and I don't know why they call some of these calls and don't call some of the other calls, and some of these calls get called. But let's hope it's a clean game tonight, even though no matter who wins, and hope it's the Celtics who win. But let's just hope it's a clean game tonight, and the Boston Celtics can win, and they can look good. But that's something the Boston Celtics need to look good for. But the Boston Celtics are going to win tonight. Last night, the Detroit Pistons came back from a big deficit to beat the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic blew it. The Orlando Magic were a couple minutes away. The Orlando Magic looked like they were leading the whole game, besides the first quarter. But they were leading big at halftime, and they lost 93-79. I mean, I even commented to my dad that the Orlando Magic looks like they're going to win, and the Orlando Magic blew it. They blew it. Now there's going to be a Game 7 on Sunday in Detroit, and the number 1 seed can come back from a 3-1 deficit. Who would have figured that number 1 seed would be this bad against the Buffalo? Against who would have thought that the number 1 seed would have to take Game 7, but they're going to be in a Game 7, a winner take all on Sunday. And I think the Orlando Magic will win that game right now. You heard it here on Stache Sports. I probably won't be doing an episode tomorrow, but I think the Orlando Magic win tomorrow in Detroit. But the Pistons came back. I mean, the Magic get to a big lead tomorrow. The Magic need to keep their foot on the gas and not let up and let the Pistons come back like they did last night. That's a pretty bad loss for the Orlando Magic fans to have to see in Orlando. Also, the Toronto Raptors are forced to Game 7. Went for the last lucky shot, and they look good. I think the Raptors beat the Cavaliers in Cleveland, and I think, again, Scottie Barnes has a big game from Florida State on Sunday. The Lakers won last night, and they'll move on. The Lakers are moving on. They beat the Houston Rockets, and the Houston Rockets will be going home. They won 98-78. That was a low-scoring game. The Raptors won 112-110. Evan Mobley had 26 points, and Scottie Barnes had 25 points, and Barrett had 9 rebounds. But that's good for the Celtics. But the Magic blew it. The Magic had a big lead, like I said, and blew it. But on Saturday, the Magic play at 3:30 p.m. on ABC in Little Caesars Arena. It's going to be interesting. Will the Detroit Pistons win, or will the Detroit Pistons be a number 1 seed team to lose to the number 8 team that had to play in the play-in tournament? I guess I'll find out. I think the Magic will win. I'm just picking the Magic. I live in Orlando and I live in Detroit, but we'll see who wins that game. And the Raptors play at 7:30 on NBC and Peacock, and I think the Raptors beat the Cavaliers, but we'll see. The Cavaliers are one of the top teams too, but I think it'll be more than an upset if the Magic win. I kind of want to see the upset, but I want to see the Raptors win. Last night, the Buffalo Sabres did something for the first time in team history that they haven't done since 2007, and that's they won a playoff series. In 2007, we had the first iPhone out. In 2007, we also didn't have the Android out, or the Samsung Galaxy out, but I'm doing my podcast on right now. I don't think the Samsung Galaxy phone was even in existence in 2007. In 2007, the Steelers won a Super Bowl in 2006, and Jerome Bettis retired that year after the Super Bowl. We're on Super Bowl 41 in the Super Bowl era, and now we're on Super Bowl 60, I think. We're getting pretty close to Super Bowl 60, if we're not there yet. That was wild. The Atlanta Thrashers, who are now the Winnipeg Jets, are still the Atlanta Thrashers. Atlanta had a hockey team called the Thrashers, who are now the Winnipeg Jets. They were still the Atlanta Thrashers in 2007. Who would have figured that? Who would have figured that out? That the Atlanta Thrashers were in existence the last time the Buffalo Sabres won a playoff game. The Las Vegas Golden Knights weren't even a team the last time the Buffalo Sabres won a playoff game. They came in existence a couple years later when they expanded the draft, and we lost the best goaltender in Penguins history, Marc-Andre Fleury. But that's wild. But who would have thought that the Buffalo Sabres took this long to win a playoff game? They're in the playoffs for the first time since 2011, and they're going to win the playoff series, I guess, that year. But Lindy Ruff has really turned the Buffalo Sabres around. Lindy Ruff has really made the Buffalo Sabres look a lot better now in this year. In December, who would have thought that the Buffalo Sabres will be as good they were? Because the Buffalo Sabres fired their manager and fired their coach and got Lindy Ruff. But they're looking a lot better now. But that's wild to think that the first iPhone now, and we're on like iPhone whatever now, and we're on the Android whatever now, but the Android Galaxy phone I don't think was even in existence in 2007, and the first iPhone came out in 2007. That's wild, but whatever. That's wild that the last time the Buffalo Sabres won a playoff game, the Atlanta Thrashers were still a team. Even the Utah Mammoths weren't even a team. They're still the Arizona Coyotes. That's just wild to know that. But back in 2007, and I was still in elementary school, or maybe middle school back then in 2007. The Steelers won Super Bowl 2006, and now Super Bowl 40, and now we're on whatever Super Bowl will be this year. That's just wild to believe. It's been that many years. I mean, my best friend Brandon, that's a diehard Buffalo Sabres fan, was in grade school too. The last time the Buffalo Sabres won a playoff series, but they won 4-1 last night against the Boston Bruins. But like I said, they really did turn the season around. They really are playing a lot better. Lindy Ruff and either Dan Muse should be Jack Adams Coach of the Year award, but Lindy Ruff has looked good in the second term as the Buffalo Sabres. Alex Turok was 10 years old, I think they said, the last time the Buffalo Sabres won, and he had one of the goals in the game last night. Tage Thompson probably was a young kid too. The last time the Buffalo Sabres won a playoff series. He had an assist. Brandon Dowman had an assist too. Mathis Selman scored, and Cabe scored, and Tage Thompson had another goal. Tage Thompson's one of these young and upcoming goaltenders. But who would have figured that in 2007 we had the first iPhone out, and we didn't even have flat screen TVs would start coming into existence probably in 2007, but that's a long time ago. David Pastrnak was the only one to have a goal by the Boston Bruins, and it was scored by Zach Linderbaum. Zach Benson had an assist by Josh Darwin to make it 3-1, and then Josh Norris had an empty netter assisted by Darwin and Zach Benson. But Tage Thompson, one of these young players, the Buffalo Sabres are finally playoff one. They finally ended that drought. That's probably been one of the longest droughts to have a first playoff one since 2007. 2007. 007. That's a long time ago. That's been a while ago. I mean, I was a little kid back the last time the Buffalo Sabres won a playoff series. I mean, I know the Buffalo Sabres have always been bad, but luckily this year they turned the season around when they fired their coach and general manager in the middle of the season, and they turned them around. We're one of the success stories this year in the NHL, and one of the teams, even if you kind of want to follow and see how good they can do. They're one of the success stories this year in the NHL world. But they'll be waiting to see if they play in the Montreal Canadiens or the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Las Vegas Golden Knights, who weren't even a team and weren't even thought of being a team because they even expanded the teams that long, were not even a team in 2007. Neither were the Utah Mammoths, but the Vegas Golden Knights are moving on to the next round, and they'll be playing the Minnesota Wild, I think. The Lightning won in overtime. It took them overtime to finally get a first goal, but the first goal won, and they will be moving on. They'll be going to a Game 7 in Tampa Bay on Sunday, and I think the Tampa Bay Lightning win on Game 7. But the Buffalo Sabres are moving on for the first time since 2007. That's one of the success stories, and I can't believe that the Buffalo Sabres are moving on in the playoffs, and the Buffalo Sabres made the playoffs. If you would ask me this same if the Buffalo Sabres had made the playoffs, I would have laughed, because the Buffalo Sabres, I thought, would have been one of the bottom teams like they are all the years. But now the Buffalo Sabres have a team, and they're looking really good. They're looking like they could be a team to beat, and maybe a team to come out of the East this year in the NHL. Today, in hockey, it's the second round for some reason. I guess the second round started early for some of these teams, but the Buffalo Sabres still have to wait to see who they play because the Lightning still have to finish their series. But the Carolina Hurricanes are playing the Philadelphia Flyers, and I think the Carolina Hurricanes beat the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. And I think they won big. Since I won't be doing the bid tomorrow, I think that I guess they won't be playing the Colorado Avalanche playing Minnesota Wild. I guess the Vegas Golden Knights are playing the Anaheim Ducks. Excuse me. I thought they were playing the Wild, but they're playing the Anaheim Ducks. But the Colorado Avalanche, I think they win tomorrow against the Minnesota Wild in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals Round 2. And that being the Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Montreal Canadiens, and we'll have yet another year about having a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup when everybody says that hockey is a Canadian sport. But I still can't believe the Buffalo Sabres won. I mean, the Android phone that I'm doing on now wasn't even an existence phone back in 2007, I believe. The iPhone 1 just came out in 2007. Who would have figured that? And we didn't have some of these big flat screen TVs that we have now. We didn't have all these big 80-inch TVs and 90-inch TVs and 75-inch TVs that we have now in 2007. We had Super Bowl 41 in 2007. But now the Buffalo Sabres can finally say they are a playoff series team and say they're a playoff series team. But we'll see who they play in the next round. Last night, the Pittsburgh Pirates won 9-1. That's nice to see the Pittsburgh Pirates won 9-1 when they had a 5-game losing streak and could finally get on the winning streak. They played They played a team that's the best team They played a team that's the best team right now in the NL Central, the Cincinnati Reds, and won 9-1. If you were a gambling man and you would have gambled on Henry Davis, you would have been lucky last night if you gambled on him to have 2 home runs because he probably would have made a lot of bank. Because Henry Davis is batting batting in the 100s right now, which is pretty bad, but he had 2 home runs last night. He had 2 home runs last night. Henry Davis had 2 home runs last night. Ryan Reynolds had a home run to center. Nobody scored there. Only Ryan Reynolds. He had a single home run. Then Ryan Reynolds had a triple in the third, and Davis scored. Davis had a lot of hot bat last night. It's good to see Henry Davis finally having a hot bat because that's something the Pirates have been missing. It's a good catcher that can hit. I mean, they have good catchers and play good defense, but we need a good catcher that can hit. I mean, Joey Bart has not been a good catcher to hit. Henry Davis has batting like a 147, but luckily he had a lot of hits last night and had 2 home runs. That's quite impressive that he had 2 home run night. Bogan hit in a minute. Ryan Harn singled to right and Reynolds scored, making it 3-0 Pirates. Davis home run, making it 4-0. Oh, a single home run again. Ozuna home run to center and Gonzalez scored, making it 6-0. It's nice to see Ozuna home run. Ozuna is one of the other players that the Pirates fans keep complaining about because he hasn't been doing good. But it's nice to see Marcell Ozuna do good because he's our DH and he needs to be hitting. He's been on a really cold streak of late, but it's nice to see Marcell Ozuna do good and hit the ball. Davis had another home run and Griffin scored. It's nice to see Connor Griffin hitting back because Connor Griffin's one of our highest paid shortstops and he's well deserved the money because he's going to be a future Hall of Famer and a future great. But it's nice to see him hitting. But it's also nice to see Henry Davis have 2 home runs. Henry Davis and Griffin walked, Horton scored, and Horton scored, and O'Harn scored. It's nice to see O'Harn do good. O'Harn is one of the players we got this offseason by the free agent. O'Harn is one of the free agents we got from the Pirates got. It's nice to see O'Harn do good. I mean, he's a free agent we got that played for the Baltimore Orioles last year in the Padres, but he's a free agent we got. It's also nice to see Magnum do good too. Right now, O'Neal Cruz, even though he had 1 hit last night, he's batting at 254. Even though Brandon Lowe didn't have a hit but had a walk, he's batting at 243. Or has an average of a 243, excuse me. Brian Rose has an average of 257. Jake Magnum, who we got from the trade with Brandon Lowe, is batting at 254. No, 271, excuse me, Brian Reynolds. Ryan O'Harn, who we got, is batting at 310. That's nice to see a 310 from Ryan O'Harn. He's one of the free agent signings we got. It's nice to see that because I have a lot of complaints about the owner and not spending money, but he finally got Ryan O'Harn, and Ryan O'Harn is batting at 310, so that's nice to see. And Ryan O'Harn had a big night last night with 2 hits and 1 run. Cook is doing good at a 273. Gonzalez has a 300. Nick Gonzalez, Nicky G is looking really good. Who would have thought Nicky G would be this good this season, but Nick Gonzalez looking really good for the Pirates. Marcell Ozuna is hitting a 165. That needs to be a lot better for the DH. Or you need to put some of these other players start hitting a lot better in the DH spot. But I mean, he did have a home run last night and helped contribute to the Pirates win last night, so he can't complain right now. But he needs to start hitting a lot better than that. Spencer Horwitz is hitting a 241, our first baseman. And Connor Griffin's hitting a 232. He needs to bid that up. But Henry Davis, who's our catcher, is hitting a 176. But he had 2 home runs last night, which is quite impressive. I mean, if you would have gambled on that and gambled on the 2 home run night by Ryan O'Harn, you would have been a happy man last night because Ryan O'Harn, if you would have bet on Henry Davis, Henry Davis to have 2 home runs, you'd be a lucky man last night. But we'll see. Tonight is the Kentucky Derby, one of the most famous horse races that everybody bets on, and everybody gambles on that bets. but I like to watch it to see how good a horse can do. One of the favorite horses this year is Renegade. That's kind of funny, but Renegade is one of the favorite horses because Renegade is the song that the Steelers play to pump themselves up in the fourth quarter when they're up. And it's also a Steelers song to pump them up. And it's also a horse. It's also the horse at Florida State. It's also the name of the horse for the Florida State Seminoles. The favorites are Renegade. He will take the number 1 post at this year's Kentucky Derby. Commander, post number 6, and Favorite Addy, post number 19, are second to co-favorites in the 6-1 favorite odds. 5 horses currently sit with 51 odds. If you bet, you probably should bet on the 50-1 horses. I mean, I know they might not win, but that's how you get more money in their pocket if you bet on them. Unless you bet a lot of money, which is transfer. But if you bet a little money, you get more money if you bet on the 50-1 horses. Renegade. His jockey is Irad Ortiz Jr. He's a 4-1 favorite. So he's one of the favorites to win the whole race. 4-1 is a lot better odds than the 50-1 horse. But we'll see if he wins. I mean, he might be one of my favorites to win the horse race right now. Albus. His jockey is Manny Franco. He's a 30-1 odd. That's he's not as favorite as Renegade is, but he has a 30-1 odds. So if you bet on him and he wins, and you bet like a couple bucks, like $20, then you'll get a lot more money compared to betting a 4-1 favorite. Interrupto. His horse is Hector Barros. He's a 50-1. If you bet on him, you'll get a lot of money if he wins too, because that's a 50-1 odds. I think what's your odds? Latimus Test. Marta Garcia is a 30-1 horse. Right to Party, he won't be partying because he got scratched, but he was a 30-1 horse. Commandment by Louis Suarez is a 6-1. He's another favorite like Renegade to win the horse race, so we'll see. But I know betting is not my strong suit, but that's the number one. Darn Bourbon is a 20-1. That's the number one bet. If you bet on him, you can make more money than a 4-1 horse, I believe, but I don't know how those pan out, mathematics work out. So Happy is a 15-1, and his is Mike Smith. His jockey is Mike Smith, and he's a 15-1 horse. He's number 8. La Puma is a 10-1 horse. Wonder Dean is 30-1. Incredible is 20-1. I mean, some of these horses can win. 20-1 is a bigger odd. I mean, you can make more money, but if you bet 50-1, you probably make more money on that one. Chief Wabi is an 8-1, so he's more of a favorite like Renegade to win it. Silent Tactic got scratched. Pointe is a 20-1 horse favorite. That's nice to see him do good. Hope Pointe can do good and be good for the... It can be good. Emerging Market is a 15-1 horse. Pavlon's a 30-1 horse. He has less odds than Renegade, but he could still win. 6 Speed is a 50-1 horse. I mean, 6 Speed, that should be a better point spread, but he's a 50-1 horse. So if you bet on 6 Speed, that'll be a good point spread. Favorite Addo is a 6-1. Golden Sempo is 30-1. Great White's a 50-1. Jeez. Bet on him, you make a lot of money. Osceola is a 50-1, and Robust is a 50-1. I'm probably going to pick Renegade, but he's one of the favorite horses. But he's one of the favorite horses. But I'll be watching the Kentucky Derby later tonight, seeing if Renegade can win. I don't know if I'll bet on him. If I bet, I might bet on one of these other horses that have lesser odds because it might be better to get more money if they win. But you never know who's going to win. If you ever did go, the Pittsburgh Steelers declined the option of the 5th-year option for Broderick Jones, which means he'll be a free agent after this year. I mean, that's okay. The Steelers haven't been doing that good in the first-round draft picks. They need to keep... Well, I think the last person they accepted the 5th-year option for is T.J. Watt. But they need to hopefully this player this year can be one of the guys that can get a 5th-year option to give him more money. And also, the Indianapolis Colts declined Anthony Richardson's 5th-year option. I mean, he'll be a free agent next year, too. I don't know about Jones. I mean, Jones does have a neck injury, so we'll see how good Jones can do this year. But Jones might be on his way out next year in Pittsburgh and be playing for a contract here. I don't know if he'll be getting a contract here by the Pittsburgh Steelers. The MMA had an early fight today. Early fight card. That is in Australia. I'm going to try to say some of these names, but don't come at me if I get them wrong. Robbie Snyder. Steele won by a submission. Metcalf won by split decision. Schultz won by submission. Thickness won by unanimous decision. Malcolm won by unanimous decision. Tapman won by TKO knockout. Roston won by unanimous decision. Severin won by unanimous decision. Peke won by a TKO knockout. Ricky won by a TKO knockout. REG won by unanimous decision. Skill Loud won by TKO knockout. In the main event, Prentice won by knockout and TKO. It was early because it's in Australia, but that's the UFC card for today. Here's another fight card. It's part of that's mixed martial arts. The PFFL. Pro Fighting League, I guess. Here's my picture of the PFFL tonight. I think Williams wins by split decision. I think Bay wins by unanimous decision. I think Alvarez wins by knockout. I think Sanchez wins by knockout or submission. I think Kim wins by submission. I think Bowers wins by knockout. I think Xavier wins by unanimous decision. I think Lingo wins by split decision. I think Ferreira wins by split decision. I think Powell wins by knockout. I think Chavez wins by knockout. I think Story wins by knockout. But there's my UFC card. Here's my MLB pick for today. I don't know if I did that. I think the Yankees beat the Orioles. I think the Blue Jays beat the Twins. I think the Cubs beat the Diamondbacks. I think the Pirates beat the Reds. I think the Boston Red Sox beat the Astros. I think the Tampa Bay Rays beat the Giants. I think the Dodgers beat the Cardinals. I think the Angels beat the Mets. But the Mets finally won a game yesterday. The Mets stink this year, but they finally won a game. I think the Brewers beat the Nationals. I think the Marlins beat the Phillies, so my friend Robbie doesn't cry all the time. I think the Rangers beat the Tigers. I think the Braves beat the Rockies. The Braves are pretty good this year. I think the Padres beat the White Sox, and I think the Mariners beat the Royals. Tomorrow, my picks are, I think the Blue Jays beat the Twins. I think the Orioles beat the Yankees. I think the Pirates beat the Reds tomorrow. I think the Red Sox tomorrow beat the Astros. I think the Tampa Bay Rays beat the Giants tomorrow. I think the Cardinals beat the Dodgers tomorrow. I think the Cubs beat the Diamondbacks tomorrow. I think the Indians beat the Athletics tomorrow. I think the Mets beat the Angels tomorrow. I think the Washington Nationals beat the Brewers tomorrow. I think the Phillies beat the Marlins tomorrow by Robbie. I think the Phillies beat the Marlins tomorrow. I think the Braves beat the Rockies and sweep them. I think the White Sox beat the Padres. I think the Mariners beat the Royals. And I think the Tigers beat the Rangers. But thank you for watching another episode of Stache Sports. For my brother Kyle and EJ and Jake, I hope you have an easy move. And I hope you have a good move. And I hope everything goes well tomorrow in your move. And I hope all the people come out and help you. And it goes well. And you adjust to your new house. I hope my barber friend Jake and Allie are adjusting to your new house. And I hope everybody else has a good week and has a great weekend. And has a great weekend watching sports or doing whatever they're doing and having good family time. But thank you for watching my episode, you Stashers. And thank you for being loyal fans to my channel. If you have any comments or any concerns or anything, just leave them down below and I'll try to comment on them. Sometimes YouTube has trouble with me commenting on them, but I'll try to comment on them. Thank you for watching Stache Sports.